Hey, what up, guys? I'm Topher. Welcome to my third video on the channel, and even though it's my third video, this is my first actual movie review. And much to your surprise, it is not an MCU movie. Although it does have many Marvel connections, not necessarily Marvel Studios just yet, but Marvel Entertainment in most of its forms other than comic books. But yeah, Office Christmas Party. It's directed by Josh Gordon and Will Speck. I think it's directed well. The script is a little, I'd say the script was a little bit iffy, and they could have had it's kind of it's a little erratic. They could have done better on the script, but given the script that they were given, I think it was well directed. It's well acted. It's distributed by DreamWorks. It stars Jason Bateman, Olivia Munn, and T.J. Miller. The Marvel connections. Olivia Munn is Psylocke in X-Men Apocalypse. T.J. Miller is the bartender in both of the Deadpool movies. Jamie Chung is in the movie. She doesn't have a big role, but she also plays Blink in the Fox series, The Gifted. Randall Park, just he's hilarious. But he is the federal probation officer in Ant-Man and the Wasp. The one just astounded by the magic tricks. And for a short scene later on in the movie, it also has the little girl. I don't know her name, but she played the young, like 8 to 10 year old version of Jean Grey in X-Men Dark Phoenix. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, it is hilarious. T.J. Miller is a national treasure. Kate McKinnon does a great job as the controlling and neurotic HR supervisor. T.J. Miller and Jennifer Aniston, they really make you feel like they're siblings. I mean, most of the stuff that they do, I can see me and my sisters doing if we hadn't. But yeah, Clay and Carol Vanstone, which is TJ and Jennifer. Their father has recently passed away, leaving TJ Miller to run the Chicago branch of his internet tech company, Xenotech, and Aniston as its interim CEO, which she fully expects to obtain the actual title, as she states later on. Oh, yeah. Spoilers. Spoilers, by the way. So, yeah. Anyway, that's just the first very little bit. But yeah, if you don't want anything spoiled, then look away, turn your volume down, but don't leave because I need your view time. But yeah, anyway, yeah, she's the CEO. He is the branch manager at his father's Chicago branch. They have a great dynamic. But the movie opens with Jason Bateman's character, Josh, being at his attorney's office, finalizing his divorce, and freeing him up to pursue Olivia Munn's character as Tracy. So Carol arrives at her brother's branch in Chicago for a random meeting to inform Clay that his branch is failing and she's going to be laying off like 80 of his employees, of his 200 employees. Josh and Clay talk her into giving them 24 hours to land a contract with this company called Data City. It's like a $14 million contract. It would save the company. And she allows them to do that. But so Josh and Tracy and Clay meet with him later on for lunch. He gives them a hard rejection, and he says that it's because of Xenotech's culture, their layoffs and their branch closings and whatnot. And so they then feel like inviting him to this Christmas party that Carol most definitely said they should not have earlier. It's probably the only way it landed him, because he's very unhappy with how his company treats him and whatnot. So a party kind of entices him a little bit. He agrees to come. So they throw it all together just in time, and then commences with a nice little cameo from then Bulls star Jimmy Butler. He's a member of the Heat now, unfortunately. But yeah, one of the nerdy department heads hires a prostitute to be his girlfriend Becca, that he has made up and been talking about for months, and been the butt of many a joke in the office because of it. So he orders her. This is the introduction to her pimp, Trina, portrayed by Jillian Bell, which she was born to be a pimp, apparently, because she did great. But yeah, Walter, which is Courtney B. Vance, arrives for the party. Oddly not a Bulls fan, but a Cavs fan, which didn't make sense to me at that time. But that's neither here nor there. He meets several employees and definitely decides to leave until the prostitute known as Becca, who gives $40 hand jobs and sells blow to a few people, drops a bag of coke next to the snowblowing machine that Mary incidentally loads moments later with the bag of coke for the next snow outing. And Walter receives a face full of blow buzz, completely changing his outlook on the party and life in general. During all this, the department head that hired the prostitute is in a mad scramble to come up with the rest of the money so that he can keep her for the rest of the night. The party gets ticked up several notches, though, by this point. Jamie Chung invites a slew of random people on Facebook, and everybody's having a blast. TJ Miller has several moments worth of shine in this process. He's hilarious. Carol's at the airport now with a ridiculous exchange with the little girl that plays the young Jean Grey that I talked about. And then the announcement's made that all flights are canceled due to the weather, so she can no longer go on her trip. So she decides to get an Uber back to her room, and then she has a hilarious exchange with the Uber driver. Even thinking about it, it makes me laugh because the whole movie is just so funny. But yeah, she makes fun of her name and its generational ties to, older times. She says, "My grandma's named Carol." That's great. But Carol goes on this little rant, tells her that she's the CEO of Xenotech, yada yada, and the Uber driver's like, "Oh, Xenotech, I just dropped 4 people off at the party there." Boom, busted. So, that then makes Xenotech Carol's next destination. So now, extremely fucked up, and Walter proclaims that he wants to work with Xenotech and those people, seemingly saving the day. Unfortunately, Carol returns just in time to see Walter critically injured during a stunt that he and Clay had discussed earlier at the party, the crazy Tarzan thing. But it's still good fun, until Mary informs the handful of stars that Walter has had a rough day. First, getting fired from Data City at the end of the business day, and now going to the hospital. Carol then drops the hammer that she will be officially closing the Chicago branch out of sheer anger, if nothing else. Saddened and depressed, though, Clay leaves the party. The nerdy department head argues with Becca outside about the hand jobs and the blow distribution and requests his money back. Trina conveniently shows up and puts a gun to his head, and about that time, Clay comes outside, drunk and depressed and all sorts of badness, and he's yelling, and he then becomes Trina's new target. So they take Clay to their club, that I guess is their hideout or their pimp lair or whatever, causing Josh, Tracy, Carol, and Mary to have to track him down and save him. So while at the club, bonding over, being the boss and how difficult it is, Clay talks about his last 300 grand. As Clay, Trina, and Becca load up into a car to go to the money, or so Trina thinks that they are doing, Josh and the gang arrive at the club, posing as a pimp and his 3 hoes, which is great. Great little fun interaction in there. Kate McKinnon still shines as she just goes off and distracts this goon. And Jennifer Aniston Krav Magra's all over 3 of Trina's henchmen. They see Clay pulling out, yelling some Vin Diesel stuff, some Fast and Furious jargon, and Josh realizes where he's going. Earlier in the movie, they had talked about how fast you would need to be going to make a jump over a bridge that raises during certain times so that ships can pass by underneath. And then there's a nice little montage that cuts back to Xenotech, showing all the destruction and the chaos that has occurred since they left, and since all the random Facebook guests that were invited started to fire up the disgruntled employees that just heard that they were all losing their jobs. It's a hellacious party. There's even a bit where Jesus is riding through on a white horse, because it's a Christmas party, of course, but, but there's fire and destruction and just stuff getting ruined everywhere. And then we cut back over to the streets as Josh and Tracy, Mary and Carol catch up to Clay, Trina, and Becca. Or, I didn't actually catch her whole name, but, Becca was the guy's girlfriend that he said. They tell him that if he's jumping the bridge, then they are too. That causes some hesitation for Clay because he's not expecting to make it. This has pretty well become a suicide drive. Carol says, fuck no, grabs the wheel from the back seat, slamming into Clay's car, causing both vehicles to wreck. They take out a power pole, which somehow coincidentally knocks out all the internet in the city, but doesn't seem to knock out any electricity, which is wild, but I guess that happens because movie, So yeah, at the hospital, Carol and Tracy have a nice little interaction where Tracy has a revelation about this program that she's been working on for the last 4 years, that is supposed to allow you to draw an internet connection from anything connected to electricity, a light bulb, a microwave even, and it's aptly named Anywhere. So she has the revelation. They race back to Xenotech, rush past all the destruction and the people that were hiding and the people that are passed out and whatnot. She fixes her algorithm for the program, rounds up the proper material, launches the program. After a dramatic delay for a few minutes, it finally connects up, putting the product out there, the name out there, saving the company in the process because everybody's going to want it, and saving the internet. Like, she puts the whole city back online and just coincidentally saves the day, pretty much. So, back at the hospital, Clay and Carol, they reconcile their differences, kind of, for the moment, for the sake of movie. The crew shows up to get them at the hospital. They wheel him out. They talk about continuing the party. His doctor comes out and he's like, hey, you can't be drinking on the medication that you're on. And they have a nice little exchange where they make fun of him and they give him shit. It's a good callback to the meeting that they had at the beginning of the day, when Carol showed up to, kind of drop the hammer, but not really. It's a nice little callback. I will say, however, that it is the first time that I've ever seen Melissa McCarthy's husband in a role in a movie that she wasn't in, so that's interesting. And that's funny all by itself right there. Like, what? Was she in there somewhere and we missed her? Would have been cool. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great movie. It didn't get very good reviews when it came out. It was only like 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. But if you look at it for what it is, for just a Christmas comedy and just roll with it, you will really enjoy it. TJ Miller's hilarious. Jennifer Aniston, I don't know. It wasn't really and she does well in the role, but she probably would have been a good Mary, the HR supervisor. But Kate McKinnon slayed that, so there was no chance of that. But yeah, it's got a great cast. It's absolutely stacked out. Parts, players, the direction, the amount of improv that they gave them. It was just a good time. It's a great movie. It's a good time. In terms of holiday comedy, I give it a 9. A solid 9, I think. But yeah, that is my review, reaction, and breakdown, I guess, all in one. Office Christmas Party. Go watch it if you haven't. But also, if you haven't, then you probably shouldn't have seen this video, because it is spoiler heavy. Might as well go ahead and note that hardly ever am I going to have a spoil-free review, reaction, breakdown, anything. Well, I guess if it's a breakdown, it's definitely spoiler heavy. But you know what I'm saying. Once I fine tune this this review thing that I'm trying to do, it's still a baby. Got to teach it how to walk. Um, yeah, it's all going to be spoiler heavy, so let's keep that in mind. But yeah, Office Christmas Party, check it out. Hope you enjoyed this. I know I did. I've been nervous as fuck the whole time. Like, subscribe, share, leave me a comment. If I messed something up, let me know. If there's a movie that you want me to do, let me know. If I've got it, I'll do it next. If I don't, I'll try to acquire it. And that's it. I'll see you guys again real soon. Thanks for stopping in.